All right. Well, thank you, everybody. It's an honor to be here. This is such an intellectual group. It's honestly a little intimidating to speak to this group. So I wanted to give a little bit background about the city of Palo Alto. We do run our own municipal utilities, covering electric, gas, water, wastewater, and fiber services. On the electric side, we get about half of our supply from WACA, which is large hydro from the Pacific Northwest. So given that 50% of our electric supply on an average hydro year is already carbon free, I wouldn't call it renewable because large hydro doesn't count as renewable supply. It's not a big stretch to get to 100% carbon-free electric supply. So in 2013, the City Council in Palo Alto adopted 100% carbon-free electric supply mandate. So from the utility side, we have to do a lot more PPAs with renewable supplier, energy suppliers to get to the 100%. And we do buy market on the CAISO marketplace, and we do buy RECs to cover up some of the carbon emissions during those off-peak hours. So starting with this 100% carbon-free electric supply, the next thing to move into is how can we leverage this 100% carbon-free electric supply to help the city reduce the overall carbon footprint. We have a gas utility. If we can somehow electrify a lot of these gas end uses, then we can further reduce the city's carbon footprint. So in 2015, Palo Alto City Council adopted actually it was the Utility Advisory Commission, approved an electrification work plan. It's not necessarily a mandate, it's about different types of programs and initiatives to explore different types of building electrification and vehicle electrification efforts. So that was in 2015. And I kind of wanted to start this presentation from kind of the fall of 2015 to where we are now. So in 2015, which is really not that long ago, in order for any homes to switch from a gas water heater to electric heat pump water heater, there's a burden to demonstrate TDV equivalence. In other words, they have to hire someone to run an energy model to show that the TDV of a heat pump water heater is lower than what they currently have in the gas water heater, whether it's tank or tankless. That's a big burden. We weren't going to start going out with a pilot program and make our customer have to hire some energy modeling person to do this work. And we talked to the CEC about this, and CEC, Mossy and his team, I do want to give kudos to Danny Tam. He's not my cousin, we're not related. So Danny actually did a bunch of calculations and was able to come up with this table that you see on this PowerPoint. These are the minimum energy factors for heat pump water heaters in each climate zone. And based on these energy factors in each climate zone, he explained that this is a pre-calculated compliance with the prescriptive requirements in Title 24. So that was great. So based on this table that Danny came up with, we can then launch this pilot program, and that was launched about 2 years ago, in 2016. We had this heat pump water rebate program to incentivize our homeowners to switch from gas water heaters to heat pump water heaters. Actually, I forgot to mention that for Palo Alto, our building electrification efforts is primarily focused on retrofit activities. There's not a lot of new construction opportunities because the city is pretty much all built out. Any new construction opportunities will come from a complete tear down, whether it's on the commercial side or on the residential side. So the heat pump water rebate program primarily targets homeowners to replace their existing gas water heater with a heat pump water heater, and we have a pretty generous rebates of up to $1,500 to homeowners to do this work, and they do have to pull a permit to qualify for this rebate. We've done a lot of work in the space of heat pump water heating, which we consider as sort of the lowest hanging fruit in terms of building electrification, in terms of both potential to electrify and reduce the gas consumption, as well as the cost, aka is it cost effective from a customer perspective. So in this slide here, I put down some bullets of the work that we have done. We have the heat pump water heater rebate program. We've run workshops with representatives from all the leading heat pump water heater manufacturers in the last 2 years. These workshops are ran jointly with Passive House. I think a number of you here probably have met Bronwyn, and she's great. So we have these workshops that we co-host with Passive House. We've done a lot of work also with the CEC to streamline the permitting process to switch from gas water heater to heat pump water heater. And earlier this year, we hosted an open house for the first all-electric multifamily building in the city of Palo Alto. And if you remember that first slide, there's this picture of this beautiful multifamily building. That was the all-electric multifamily building with 13 units, very high-end in downtown Palo Alto. If you can imagine, the real estate in downtown Palo Alto is just off the roof. There are 13 units, and they have individual heat pump water heaters, as well as, I think it's Mitsubishi air source heat pumps in each of those units. So, and a pretty significant PV array on the rooftop with EV charging station for each parking space in the garage. Over the next 2 years, we do have a number of initiatives planned. We are working with Bayran, who has been recently granted a grant to run a regional heat pump water heater market transformation program. Specifically, there's one component that we're very interested in, and Masi also mentioned this yesterday, is a midstream or upstream incentive to motivate contractors and distributors to stock heat pump water heaters. We currently have a program that helps our customers assess whether their house is ready for a heat pump water heater, and we want to take that one step further, is to see if they can, if their existing master panel has enough capacity to accommodate either a heat pump water heater or induction cooktop or a EV charger. So that's that is an assistance program or service offering that we're offering to our customers. We are looking at the Title 20, the 2019 Title 24 requirements, and we're evaluating how we can adopt a local reach code to make it even more friendly for homeowners to convert to heat pump water heater and heat pump space heater. So that's some work that we're undertaking currently. So that's on the water heating side. On the space heating side, which is also, it was in our 2015 electrification work plan, is to help our homeowners in Palo Alto convert from gas furnaces to heat pump space heating. So when I brought this up to the CEC and say, hey, you guys have this nice simple table with a minimum energy factor for heat pump water heaters, can you guys do something like that for on the space heating side, rather than requiring each of the homeowner to calculate the TDV, which I can't even imagine how to explain TDV to our homeowners. I don't know how many of you here has heard that term. TDV is a strictly Title 24 cost metric. It's an energy budget. have a really hard time explaining to my managers and my boss's boss and my boss's boss's boss. Nobody understands TDV, and if I had to explain this to customers, it would be very painful. So, so in the current code, in Title 24, if a homeowner wants to replace an existing gas furnace with a heat pump space heating system, they need to demonstrate that the TDV of the new system is slower than the gas furnace, than the standard gas furnace system. It does have some language here regarding what this replacement system consists of. It includes the heating cooling equipment. It includes a entirely new or replacement duct system and a new or replacement air handler. So I think there's a loophole if we're reading this correctly. If a homeowner only wants to replace just the gas furnace with a heat pump without touching the ductwork, without touching the air handler, they could, because it's not a complete system replacement. Clearly, we're not going to tell our customers, oh, just leave your leaky ducts in place, just change out your gas furnace.
I'm not sure about that. I think if you change out your furnace, you're required to do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're required to do duct testing. But
Yeah,
not change out.
you don't have to change, but you have to test it and seal it.
Yeah, you have to seal it too.
Right.
But if you don't replace it, can you still? I don't know. I think that's kind of a gray area in Title 24.
You don't have to replace it. You don't do a test. You know, you have to have the, I think it's an existing building. I think you have to, your leakage should be less than 15% or something.
Probably it heard, you have to have heard who you're coming.
Here's ready to come in
And
and
if you
test
must
it. It's fully wrapped. Then they use mastic or other techniques. They can use that air seal.
That's only if you pull a permit. And
You can pull it from.
Right. And
But I think this is making a different point. Your point has to do with bullet point 2 is the word and. If you don't replace the duct system, then you're not prohibited from installing.
then we don't have to meet that TDV equivalence requirement.
Put in a heat pump on the
So that's the thing. In the standards, even for new construction, a furnace and a heat pump altogether are equivalent. So you don't, basically what happens is when you choose a furnace, you get compared against a furnace.
Right.
When you choose a heat pump, you get compared
For
against
new
a heat pump.
construction.
And the same thing is, in retrofits, you can switch it out. I don't think there's a penalty for that. But you do have to test and seal the duct when you're doing that, which is a good thing.
It is a good thing. I'm definitely would highly encourage anyone who are thinking about replacing their furnace to test their ductwork and make sure that they don't have.
But the difference is between electrification and efficiency. Just to make a distinction, you're focusing on electrification. Like
Right.
What do you do to get
Right.
electrification?
This is from a retrofit alteration perspective.
I bet you in most existing homes, if you test it, we have leakage in excess of 35%.
Right. Right.
95% of those really require leak replacement. So we're out of time.
But anyway, so this is just the background. So, okay, so the CEC said, look, it's a lot more complicated. It's not quite as simple as coming up with a single number for each kind of zone. So, we thought, okay, we will try to run some energy modeling study. And we spoke with Owen Howlett from SMUD, and we did this joint study. We hired a consultant TRC to do the modeling work for us. And there's a lot of parameters that we need to consider. We need to, but our objective is to quantify the energy savings, therms, kBTU, TDV, kilowatt hours. We want to look at what is the minimum efficiency level and capacity to replace a gas furnace for a specific home. And homes can be very different in terms of their vintage, in terms of their square footage, in terms of the shell insulation, and we also want to quantify what the bill impact is from a customer perspective. And this study the intent of this study is to put together a pilot incentive program to help our customers switch out from gas furnace to heat pump space heating. So as part of this study, there's a lot of parametric modeling work done by TRC using CBAC-RES software. And I'm showing in this table here what the baseline system would look like, either for a gas furnace or a heat pump system. And in terms of the input parameters that was covered in the simulation, we looked at the size of the homes, and these are the prototypes, I think, currently in the CBAC-RES software. The vintages, depending on when the home is built, the insulation, the shell is very different because of Title 24. Anything that's pre-code, pre-1978 will be a lot leakier, and homes built after 2001 are much tighter. We looked at the heating capacity. So again, the energy consumption of the heat pump could vary depending on the capacity of the heat pump system, and also the HSPF. The HSPF is for the heating efficiency, and the sphere is for the cooling efficiency. So we can get into the heating and the cooling part. And then we looked at both climate zone 4 and 12, which is where Palo Alto is located and SMUD is located. Palo Alto is much milder climate, so for the most part, we don't have a lot of cooling needs, but that's not the case in SMUD. SMUD has definitely more extreme climate that they need both heating and cooling. So this is just a screenshot of what the output of this model looks like. We have this input box on the left that shows as input, you can have different vintages. You can put in the size of the home. You can put in what the HSPF level looks like, and the capacity of the heat pump, and whether we're only looking at the savings from the space heating or whether we're looking at the savings from both space heating and cooling. And it's compared against the baseline of either just a gas furnace or a standard heat pump, which has an HSPF of 8.2. That's the federal minimum standard. So looking back, thinking about the TDV equivalence requirement that's currently in the Title 24 alterations clause, it's a very busy table here, but what I'm trying to illustrate here is the minimum capacity and the minimum efficiency of heat pump system that would meet the Title 24 requirement for different size homes and different vintages. So the building vintage is on the vertical axis, and the building size is on the horizontal axis, and only the green shaded cells are the ones that meet Title 24 alterations requirement. So if I had to kind of squint and make a judgment call, if I had to design a rebate program, our recommendation would be like for any homes, say less than 1,500 square feet, we will require that the heat pump system that goes in has a minimum HSPF of 10 and a minimum 2-ton capacity. Depending again on the size of the home, we have different HSPF and tonnage requirement. I try not to look at the vintage because sometimes people may not be as aware of the vintage of the home or the exact vintage of the home. So we're looking at just the square footage of the home. So this is for the TDV requirement if the home only has space heating. If we're looking at space heating and cooling, then it's actually more lenient. We can accommodate the TDV requirement with a lower capacity and a lower efficiency heat pump system. So I highlighted some of the additional systems that would otherwise fail the TDV equivalence requirement if the system is only running on heating only mode. So So this is good. This is just to meet the CEC requirement in Title 24. So now let's look at the bill from a customer perspective. For Palo Alto, we have a tier rate system. We don't have AMI. We have tier 1, tier 2. I have some of the rates outlined in this slide. And when we look at the bill impact from switching from a gas furnace to a heat pump system, it doesn't look all that good for Palo Alto. The customer most likely will experience a bill increase. That's because we have a pretty low gas rate compared to PG&E. Our electric rate is low, but not super low, not nearly as low as Silicon Valley Power, which is also in climate zone 4. So in this table on the right, if it's running on heating only mode, it doesn't look like it would pan out from a customer perspective, which gives me some reservation whether we want to put together, implement a rebate program. If it's SVP, then this is a no-brainer. From a PG&E customer perspective, this is really expensive to electrify because their electric rate is really high. I think it starts at tier 1. It starts at 21 cents per kilowatt hour. So it's very expensive to electrify for a PG&E customer. So I did something similar on for a bigger home, looking at both the heating and cooling bill, and we have the same conclusion. It doesn't quite work out from a customer perspective, from Palo Alto and from a PG&E customer perspective, but it is cost effective for a customer in Silicon Valley Power, which is in Santa Clara.
Did you inspect to see what efficiency level where it would be cost effective, and did you investigate adding solar to cheapen costly electricity?
For Palo Alto, starting the beginning of this year, we have moved to a NEM's assessor program. So any solar generation that's feed back into the grid is only paid out at our wholesale cost, which is about 7.5 cents. And if they have to use the electricity from the grid, like let's say at nighttime or off peak, they are paying 12 cents. So for space heating, since this is in the winter months, and usually people use their space heating in the early morning, about around 6 a.m., solar may not be the most economical solution for them.
Because it really is the sunshine and the loads, like you don't
Right.
get to offset it in a tricky way.
Right.
Any efficiency investigation? I mean, we know that the Japanese heat pumps are in COPs of.
Yeah, so we did run the numbers for a higher attic insulation. It still doesn't quite pan out. So yeah.
And I just want to comment, for SMUD territory, it is less expensive.
Right, so for SMUD, this would make sense. This is economical from a customer perspective in SMUD.
I'm wondering why you jumped to an R30 in the roof and still maintain 2.5 ton.
I'm just showing like some snapshot. There are actually the results. I really simplified the results of this modeling study. There were thousands of simulation runs, so I'm just showing some snapshot of the results here. Yeah, I could run it all the way to R49, 4 ton.
We have to.
I think I'm being ushered out. So okay, so in terms of next steps, we have for now put a hold on implementing or designing a rebate program to electrify space heating. We are doing a cost of service analysis to see what we can do to help customers who are thinking about electrifying their house to make it maybe a little. We don't know. Well, we have to meet Prop 26 cost of service, so we can't just arbitrarily raise our gas rate. We do have a grant fund, a grant that we received from BACMUD, and we will be looking to implement a multifamily gas furnace retrofit program. This is for, we're targeting primarily low-income multifamily buildings, Section 8 housing, to pull out these very inefficient gas wall furnaces and put in heat pump systems. Yeah. And at some point when CBAC REST software has ductless mini splits, heat pump built into the model, maybe we will rerun this study with the mini splits.
We're working on it.
Okay, I think I'm.
Yay!
Thank you.